handful of tech billionaires have spent $800 million over the past 5 years assembling a bunch of acres of land in a rural part of California. What could go wrong here, right? This group has been approaching locals, hand-picking plots of land, and have amassed over 50,000 acres at this point. And their plan with all of this land is to build a utopian city full of tens of thousands of new homes, jobs, and things to do.
We're finally getting answers from the man who plans to build that new city in Solano County.
Meet the man behind the mystery, 36-year-old Jan Shermack.
We're very excited about it. I mean, I know there's been a lot of concern, a lot of speculation, but we genuinely believe this is a good plan.
This is definitely one of those stories that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on. I mean, anytime billionaires plan to do something unusual with their money, you'll get the conspiracy theorists who come out with all of their perspectives.
Do I trust him? No. Not at all.
But I'm not gonna lie, this whole plan seems pretty legit, and after diving into it a lot more, I don't really think that there's any ulterior motives here. The group behind this operation is called Flannery. Flannery is backed by some ultra high net worth investors like Mark Anderson, Daniel Gross, Patrick and John Collision, Reid Hoffman, Michael Moritz, and Laureen Powell Jobs. Don't worry, if you've never heard of most of these people, I hadn't either. The leader of the pack is a 36-year-old former Goldman Sachs trader named Jan Sramick. This is the guy who came up with the entire concept, then started to get everybody on board. It's kind of funny to picture Sramick approaching a bunch of billionaires and saying, hey, can I borrow $800 million? I want to build a city in the middle of nowhere. I mean, is it really that easy to raise money for projects like this? He must have been pretty convincing though, because it didn't take long for him to gather up more than enough backing to get his plan off the ground and to start reaching out to landowners. The area that this group targeted for their new city is in Solano County, California. It's a pocket northeast of San Francisco and then obviously southwest of Sacramento. And more specifically, they ended up selecting plots of land surrounding Travis Air Force Base. I read that they actually now own land literally completely surrounding this base. For a while, this definitely freaked a bunch of the locals out because it was kind of a mystery who was buying all this land, and so everybody kept asking each other, who is this mystery buyer who's buying up all of this land around the Air Force Base, and what are they going to do with it? The company didn't speak out much initially about why they were buying all of this land, but the real reason that they were keeping things under wraps is that was the only way that they could think of to avoid creating a rush of reckless short-term land speculation. Flannery has now since gone public with their plans, and there is an entire website dedicated to their plans with this community, which they will be calling California Forever. The header of the webpage says they're starting a conversation about Eastern Solano County, a chance for a new community, good-paying local jobs, solar farms, and open space. Then they give us a little sketch rendering of what it could look like. They start by talking about exactly where this land is nestled, and they call out that based on the location of that Air Force Base, this is an area that's ready for a new community. Part of kicking everything off, they sent surveys to about 2,000 residents who lived in the area to just kind of find out like, hey, what do you guys think about this idea? What do you want if we do this? And check out this little bit of feedback. This is probably one of the more fascinating bits. 81% of Solano parents that they surveyed said their kids would not be able to find a future in their own neighborhood when they grow up. I mean, I don't know. That presents a pretty good case as to why a lot of these local residents, in theory, should be on board with them building a whole new city here. In this snip, we've got a picture of what the area looks like today. It's basically just completely deserted. Here they talk about that guy, Jan Sramick, who moved to California a decade ago, spent a bunch of time in this area fishing and stuff like that, and basically fell in love with it. And he and his wife actually moved to Solano to kick all this off. In this picture here, this is just like another little sketch rendering. This makes it look pretty cool. I mean, it's walkable. You got that row housing over on one side of the street, the park over here on the other side of the street, a bunch of people riding their bikes and walking their dogs and stuff. This next picture is a bunch of kayaks on a lake, and so I guess they're putting a man-made lake somewhere in there. I didn't see that there was any bodies of water, at least on the Google images. Part of the project is a bunch of solar farms, so of course they're showing us a couple guys installing these panels. They've already got a full team established, it looks like, so they've got the architectural groups, the landscapers, the engineers, a bunch of people are all named here. We got another rendering of the area in this shot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, if you could live right on one of these streets and then just walk down to these little coffee shops or bars or restaurants or whatever, that'd be a pretty cool way of living. They're saying that to start all this off, they're meeting with a bunch of elected representatives of the county, and they're working with all the people in the area to kind of find out what everybody wants. Then towards the bottom, they talk about all the local jobs that they're gonna create here. They talk about building walkable neighborhoods and coming up with kind of creative paths for the residents residents to own homes. They're obviously needing to address all the infrastructure stuff like energy and transportation and water and even wildfire protection. And then a big part of this mission is protecting the local Air Force Base and protecting all of the agricultural land that's already here. At the bottom, there's a bunch of frequently asked questions. This one says, what's the relationship between California Forever and Flannery? It says California Forever is the parent company. This next question says that the investors actually don't really play much of a role in the day-to-day operations of this project. So all those billionaires we were talking about before are just kind of investing their money, but not much more, it sounds like. And then at the end here, they tell us that there will be a vote on all of this. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can get the voters on board and get this whole city and proposal actually approved. 50,000 acres is a ton of land. This actually is almost twice the size of San Francisco. So there's definitely room to pull off what they're trying to do here. But pretty much all the land that they're buying is zoned agricultural right now, which this is where these guys are going to have the biggest challenge in developing their new city. See, if you own land that's zoned agricultural right now and you're trying to build a bunch of houses and buildings and businesses on that land, then you need to go through a process called rezoning. Rezoning involves pitching your plan to people in the community and elected officials of the area and then just getting them to sign off on what you want to do. I'd imagine it's going to be a little tough to convince the locals that they should get rid of all this land that's now being used as farms and ranches and shooting ranges and for turbines, only to replace it with tens of thousands of homes and orchards and parks.
Trimac insists his vision ensures better days ahead for Solano County and the region. The project not only impacts Solano County, but all of Northern California.
The biggest benefit to the locals if this California community is built is that it will create thousands of jobs, it will create a ton of additional tax revenue, plus there's going to be stuff like shopping and dining options and even trade schools. All of this is going to make the plan appealing to some locals, but apparently the community is already devising a plan of defense to address the situation, according to the mayor, Catherine Moy. When you do the math on just how much money these guys have spent in Solano County, they have bought land around here at the rate of about $16,000 per acre. And apparently that's about twice the cost of what acreage would cost in this region. But here is a crazy twist. Flannery is now actually suing a bunch of the former landowners in the area, alleging that they all got together and conspired to overcharge the company for these buys. I obtained a copy of the complaint, and there's a ton of defendants who are named in this case. And the summary says that this is a simple case about a group of wealthy landowners who saw an opportunity to conspire, collude, price fix, and illegally overcharge Flannery, a buyer who had approached these landowners on an individual basis to buy their properties. It goes on to say that if the conspirators had acted independently, they could have each individually negotiated a sale with Flannery and made tens of millions of dollars in profits, but the conspirators wanted to make hundreds of millions. Dun dun dun. They say that Flannery already has smoking gun evidence, including text messages and emails involving some of the defendants. And the claim is that this supposed illegal price fixing has caused Flannery to overpay for these properties by the tune of $170 million. So in repayment, they're seeking $510 million in total damages. I'm not really sure exactly how all that math pencils out, but it's kind of funny and ironic to see a bunch of billionaires fighting with a bunch of millionaires over a bunch of land in the middle of nowhere. Anytime we talk about any of these like fantasy city concepts here on the channel, I'm always a little reluctant to believe that these things are ever going to actually come to fruition. In the case of California Forever though, I really think we might see this thing happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be any futuristic sci-fi type town like we've seen other billionaires propose in the past, but if it does create a bunch of new semi-affordable homes and jobs, then that's probably a win-win for everybody involved. I can't wait to see how all this shakes out. I'll see you guys next time.